Hello BookTube, welcome to my car. So this is a bit of a reading update. I figure I'm going to do this sort of in a vlog type version rather than just sit down and film an entire video of things I'm currently reading and have read, just because I don't have the time to sit there and film in one long kind of setting. So kind of have to piece it together as I go. So I'm actually at work waiting to go in and hoping to film this before my boss pulls up and wonders who I'm talking to. So anyway, one of the things I just finished reading, which I wanted to talk about because I have to return the books to work where I borrow them from, are a 2-volume manga series entitled At the Mountains of Madness. This is volume 1 and 2, and this is adapted by, I think it's Go Tanabe. I will show you close up there. I had quite some years ago read H.P. Lovecraft's novella At the Mountains of Madness, and so it's kind of vague in my memory as to my feelings, my total feelings about the novella. I think I had this kind of the same feelings I did with this manga, from what I recall, is that it starts out really intriguing and gets exceedingly boring by the end, and I'm just left like wondering, what the heck did I just read? And that's how I felt with this one. I think on Goodreads I had given this like 4 stars for volume 1. I'll probably drop that down to 3. And volume 2 I gave 2 stars. If I could give like 1.5, I probably would have done that. And any of those stars are basically more for the illustration than the storyline itself, because oh my god, it was a slogfest trying to finish it. So it's basically about a doomed expedition to Antarctica. It's told by one of the few survivors who didn't lose their mind after the expedition, and they're trying to kind of dissuade anybody else from returning there and exploring it further because of the dangers and the things that expedition saw and faced. So it's set like in 1931, and yeah, it's a pretty tragic outcome at the end of volume 1, but everything that leads up to it, and when the party kind of gets separated, and the one party finds what happened to the other party, all that just mounts and mounts in your curiosity and you know, heightened excitement as to what the story is going to lead you to. And then you get to this volume 2, which was, like I said, exceedingly boring, as they're kind of investigating the area and the things they discover, and they start going into this history about this culture, and I'm like, where do they like dig all this up from? Where it's like suddenly you're getting this history lesson about something. I don't want to give away too much, but you're getting this whole history lesson about this culture and thing like that, and it's like, how would they be seeing that in what they're looking at in front of them? They're not going to get that detailed information yet. We're, as a reader, being given this by the narrator. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So the illustrations were pretty decent, but I will tell you, let me see if I can not give away anything here. You see a lot of this one expression. This guy here, the kind of bulging eyes, shocked, like, I got so fed up with seeing that within the volumes that it was just like, it was getting kind of ridiculous. So yeah, it's all black and white. Let's see. I get some, fairly decent panels and stuff, but a lot of the print was, maybe it's just my eyesight, I don't know, a lot of it was just rather small, and because it's just such a bland gray scale, I mean, look at this, in some cases it's like black printing on black with like a white border around it. Made it very difficult to read. So I actually was sitting there with a magnifying glass, page by page. You could have had some pretty interesting things, but maybe they could have made some larger panels of illustrations or something. But just even to get the detail out of the illustrations was difficult. So I found that kind of annoying as well. So overall, yeah, unless you're a completist and want to have, you know, a huge library of manga, I would probably just give this one a miss. I just did not find it entertaining at all, other than after the, you know, stop at volume 1 and leave your curiosity piqued, and don't bother with volume 2. You could try that if you wanted, but yeah, it was definitely a pass for me. I'm glad I didn't actually purchase it, was able to just borrow it from work, and now I'm going to return it and let someone else encounter it. Anyway, so I'll just kind of link a few other videos together here when I get a chance to kind of update you on other things I'm reading off to work. As you guys know, I always have an audiobook going, and I've been recently listening to the novel of Ferrara by Giorgio Bassani. This is sort of made up of 6 books all featured around this particular town in Italy, and they've linked it together in this one giant volume. I've seen the book itself. It's huge, but I saw it pop up on Audible as an audiobook, and I thought, well, why not get all of them in one go and give it a listen? And I've been listening to this for about 6.5 hours now. I've got like 3 hours left on this first section of it, which is, I guess, volume 1, and I couldn't tell you what the hell I've listened to in this time frame. There doesn't seem to be any main characters, any reoccurring characters that we've come across. Kind of talking down low because my boss just pulled up and I want to think I'm a nut. Anyway, so yeah, I think some of the characters are supposed to reoccur in the other volumes in the story, but after 6.5 hours, I don't even care. I've been like labeled with dates and facts set around the war and stuff like that, and small little occurrences in the town, and I don't know or remember any of the names that we've come across, any of the characters, and I don't care anymore. I've quit. I've given up. I am now listening to, it's a retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's an Audible original called Henrietta and Eleanor. It's set more in modern times, like you can tell because there's like emails and fingerprinting and stuff like that going on. So it's a modern retelling of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, and I'm finding it entertaining and a relief after that slogfest of the novel of Ferrara. So I gotta go to work. Well, I finished listening to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde retelling. It was Henrietta and Eleanor. I like the gender flip on it and the modern kind of time frame in it. I wouldn't count it as a book though, so I won't put it on Goodreads or anything like that. It's actually a dramatized reading of it, so there's multiple actors, voice actors, portraying the various characters, but it was really good, really intriguing, and I like I said, I like the kind of gender flip on the main characters. So I was trying to figure out something else to listen to, and I just downloaded this one this morning. I'm gonna swing over here so you can see it in the bright sunshine. This is Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. This is sort of a horror story. It's about a hotel that's actually a renovated sanatorium turned into kind of like a minimalist hotel, and you can imagine there's going to be some kind of haunting going on. There's a female detective that's been invited to a wedding at the hotel. I believe it's her brother getting married. I've just started it literally on the way to work this morning, and she's dealing with some kind of something that's upsetting to her or whatever. I don't know if she's got a little PTSD from some case or something along that lines. So she's dealing with some hidden issues, and now she's heading off to this really isolated, renovated sanatorium here for a wedding, and we'll have to see how this goes. But so far I'm liking the narrator. They're doing a really great job. Unlike the narrator for the novel of Ferrara, I forgot to mention that I think when I talked about it earlier, not only was the story boring, but the narrator was god-awful. It sounded like they were just reading text, just I don't say monotone, but it's like the same kind of pacing every time they said a sentence, and everything sounded like this, and even the dialogue. That's just monotonous. So that was another reason that I quit on that audiobook. But anyway, I'm really enjoying Sanatorium so far. So talk to you later. Well, I'm on my lunch break. Thought I'd come outside, take my cosmic brownie out here and a book to read. It is 55 degrees out here. It's a heat wave. Oh my gosh, it is beautiful. I've missed this weather so much. Anyway, I'm currently reading Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. I previously read The 13th Tale by her quite some time ago, and I really liked it. This is actually part of a read-along hosted by Books and Things. And as you can see, it's like every day you're supposed to be reading a certain amount. Yeah, I had it all charted out and everything, and the readathon ran from the 15th to the 28th. Somewhere along the lines, I fell way behind, and yeah, I've only read this much, so I should have been done already. Yeah, even though I'm way behind on this one, I am still enjoying it. I'm going to keep plowing on. It's on a Goodreads read-along, although Books and Things has a YouTube channel, but she is hosting this through Goodreads, so you can like comment on it and everything. I haven't looked at any of the comments yet because I don't want to kind of get any spoilers, but like I said, I am really enjoying it. I'm enjoying this weather, and I'm going to enjoy my cosmic brownie. Well, I finished my audiobook, Sanatorium by Sarah Peers. When I first downloaded this one, I didn't really delve too much into the description of the book. I just looked at it and assumed it was a horror novel. It's not. It's described as a gothic thriller. It's set in a very isolated location, which is this former sanatorium turned into a kind of minimalist hotel. And it's surrounded by forests, and it's situated up in the Swiss Alps. And it'll soon become even more isolated when an avalanche blocks the road and no one can get in or out. We end up following a main character, Ellen. She is a detective who's on leave from the force, suffering from PTSD. There was a very traumatic case and things kind of went bad. And she's also dealing with something from her past concerning her older brother that she blames him for when they were kids. Her mind's a little muddled on the details, and she wants to confront him finally as to what happened back then. And she decides to choose the moment when she's invited to an engagement party at this hotel for her older brother. So yeah, why then? I don't know. But anyway, we get there, the bodies start to pile up, the avalanche piles up, and they can still communicate with like the Swiss police and stuff, and they decide to let her kind of look into the case while she's there, because she's the only one who is kind of qualified, even though she has no jurisdiction within this area. And she starts kind of looking into the deaths of these bodies. Like I said, they start to pile up. She's probably one of the dumbest detectives I've ever seen. When they first encounter one of the bodies and they're looking over it, it's like she's, looking at this has happened, this has happened, this has been done. And it's like, oh, this final one, oh yeah, now it's obvious that the person's been murdered. It wasn't a natural death. I'm like, okay, if you read this book and you read all this, you're like, duh. Even I could have figured that one out. I'm not trained as a detective. She also puts herself in some really dangerous situations. When there's apparently a serial killer on the loose and you're trapped there, why would you go off by yourself? Time and time again. Just a really dumb, stupid character. The best thing going for this book was the kind of atmosphere, the locale. But even that wasn't even really that detailed for me. It made me, kind of feel the winter, kind of feel like you're, cold, and the grandiose kind of nature of this hotel. But yeah, the characters just fell flat for me. Her boyfriend, her brother, and the worst thing of all was, the solution at the end when you find out who the killer is, what their motivation was, didn't make any sense to me as to why they went and attacked all these people. their motivation was basically revenge. It should have been focused on the one person that they sought revenge for. It just seemed too stretched out, too, let's make it bigger. Let's throw some extra bodies in there just to make this book. And it's the way it's revealed is pretty much the killer is just telling the detective how they did everything, and it just drags. Oh my God, it was so bad at the end. It didn't make sense why they did what they did, or to how many people that they did it to, and the way they killed the people also was just way over the top, just to make it more gruesome seeming. But I can't see that this person would have had the motivation, or why would they do what they did? Okay, so big failure for me. I really did not enjoy it at all. I'm currently listening now to The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This is the book that everyone was talking about when it came out in the mid 2020. It would won a Goodreads award as well. I've been wanting to get around to it for a while, but it's very interesting so far. I'm about like 30% into it, so I'll let you know. I also read a graphic novel. This is a YA LGBT themed graphic novel called On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. I just happened to come across this at work, and another coworker said that they had read it and said it was really, really good. It's set in a very elaborate world. The world building in here is just absolutely beautiful and in-depth, and we follow a group of young women and one non-binary character who go about rebuilding these elaborate structures that have kind of broken down. Sometimes it's like you're out in space, but these characters can also like breathe the air that's there. It's like I said, it's a different world. It's not like, floating out, like they've left Earth and are floating out there. But these structures are like massive buildings on rocks, and sometimes there's people living deep within these massive floating rock structures, and they fly around in these bizarre ships and travel from place to place rebuilding these things. And our main character, Mia, who we follow from when she developed this relationship with this girl she meets at an all-girls school, and when the girl leaves, she's kind of left on her own and ends up joining on this team of rebuilders, and ends up kind of trying to search for her lost love. And it's a very romantic, it's emotional. I love the characters. They were all very well developed, I felt, and very interesting. I love that they include a non-binary character in there as well. And it was just beautiful. My main dislike with it was the fact that I had to kind of read it with a magnifying glass. I mean, okay, my guys, I have, really bad astigmatism, but seriously, it was pretty small. Even my coworker agreed with me, and his eyes are much better than mine. But anyway, like I said, I really, really enjoyed the story. It's emotional. There's some situations of violence and bullying in there, so if that's a content warning for you. But I love the LGBT theme through it. I love the emotion, the romance that develops, and her search for this lost love, and the other characters within that, and how they kind of form their own like family bond amongst them. And it was just really, really beautiful, very empowering also for young girls if they're reading that. And again, for non-binary characters, nice to have some representation. So highly recommend this one. I've been in quite a mood for graphic novels lately, and apparently all of them seem to be LGBT themed, which is kind of funny. But I came across this one. I'd seen it on YouTube channels of people talking about it and just raving about it. And the first two are available on Kindle, so I went ahead and downloaded it. And by the time I finished the first one rather quickly, I wanted to read the second one, and I finished that one as well. I'm talking about Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This is book 1 and book 2. And it's about a beautiful romantic relationship that develops between Charlie, kind of shy student, and Nick, a rugby player, also very sweet. Charlie is gay. He'd been in a relationship with a young guy named Ben at school. But as he starts to have feelings for Charlie, who he assumes is straight, he starts to think he keeps falling for the wrong guy, because Ben is rather abusive and controlling in the relationship. Everything is about Ben all the time. And like I said, then he starts to meet Nick, and this wonderful friendship develops. We see Nick kind of help empower Charlie and kind of stand up for himself. And I really love the way this relationship develops as a friendship first. It's also kind of a coming out story, or Nick trying to figure out himself into sexuality, and he starts to have these feelings for Charlie. And it was just so beautiful to watch the story develop. It's the illustrations were, I think, two-toned, kind of like a green and white. This kind of green, it just flipped on me here. This kind of light green here and white. So very simple, but beautifully drawn. And the characters are just so expressive on their faces and everything. You see Charlie like kind of blush and stuff, and it was just a really, really beautiful. Like I said, I read the first two. I can't wait till the next two come out on Kindle. I think the third one comes out in May, but you can get all of them in physical form, all four of them. There's also a short story, and I'm not sure where in time this takes place in terms of with regards to the 4 graphic novels. But Nick and Charlie originated in Alice Oseman's debut novel, Solitaire. I haven't read that one, but I understand that in that particular novel, they're further along in their relationship, so I don't kind of want to read that one, because now I'm starting out seeing their relationship as it starts in Heartstopper. So I kind of don't want to like jump ahead. It's almost like a spoiler, but I highly recommend this one. Like it's a beautiful told story, very, very sweet. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. So the last book I want to talk about is one I mentioned at the very beginning of this vlog. That was Once Upon a River by Diane Sutterfield. It's a 460-page book. And as the title kind of suggests, it's reminiscent of the Once Upon a Time, as most fairy tales kind of begin. And this book is sort of part fairy tale, part myth. There's romance in there. There's a very complex and atmospheric kind of gothic feel to the storytelling. And if you'll pardon the pun, I felt myself thoroughly immersed in this story. It's situated at the ancient inn that's along the Thames. And it's a place where people, like the regulars, kind of come and gather to tell stories to each other. And one particular night, a stranger walks in carrying the plot of a new story, the lifeless body of a young girl. She was found in the river. He is kind of unconscious shortly after he arrives, so he can't tell anything about where she's from or anything. I'm kind of in a parking lot doing this, so I'm sure people are watching me. But anyway, so there's just this mysterious girl, and about an hour or so later, she suddenly takes a breath. Whether the coldness of the river or something magical or miraculous has happened, or is there something scientifically explaining how she kind of came back to life? No one's quite sure, but she breathes, but she doesn't talk. No one quite knows who she is or how she came to be there. But as the story progresses, we come to find out 3 families think that she belongs to them. One is a family whose daughter was kidnapped some 2 years earlier. Another one is a farming family. Their son had a liaison with a woman and had a child, a young girl. They believe that she is that young girl. And then there's the Parsons housekeeper who had lost a sister some time ago, and she also believes it's this sister. So there are 3 claims on this girl, but no one is certain of her identity. And each of these 3 plot lines kind of weave in and out of each other. It was just such I don't know, intricate read. I mean, there's a lot of characters within here. You really have to kind of keep focused on it and everything. It's not a fast-paced read by any means. As you can see in this video, I started it in February. There were other things going on in my life at the time, but I took my time with it, and I enjoyed kind of the slow pace of the novel and just kind of sinking into it. Again, another bad pun, sorry, but just sinking myself into this story with the rich characters and this intricate plot line and the slow reveals of each individual storyline of these families and of the other characters within the book, and how they all kind of come together, and some of these sort of like surprising moments that I didn't expect happened. But this is easily one of my favorite reads of the year so far, and I'm sure will be in my top 10 at the end of the year if I do a top 10 video, which I haven't in a while. But it is definitely worth picking up. I have read the 13th Tale by her before. I have set aside Bellman in Black, which is another one of her books. This one here, I don't know anything about it, but I don't care. I want to read it just because I enjoy her writing so much. So if you haven't picked this one up, I definitely recommend giving it a try. Give it time for the story to develop. Like I said, it is a slow burn, but you will find yourself equally immersed in it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this vlog. It has been going on for a couple months. Hopefully it hasn't been that long for you to watch it. So I apologize for the length of it, but like I said, I'm just kind of piecing this all together and trying to get a video out to you guys. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for your kind comments about Skippy. I still feel her loss every day, and I also carry a piece of her with me now. I have a little memorial tag that I had made that I wear on her puppy collar, which I kept since she was a puppy. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.